Why we never fight the humans. The quiet hum of the observatory ship filled the command room as Han studied the blue planet on the main screen. As senior observer for the Galactic Confederation, he had visited hundreds of worlds, but something about this one made his skin tingle with unease. Report status, Han said to his crew. June, the chief analyst, looked up from her console. The planet calls itself Earth. Third planet from a yellow star. Technology level, early space age. They've only reached their moon and sent primitive probes to nearby planets. Han nodded slowly, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence as he processed this information. Weapons capability, nuclear but limited. No faster-than-light travel, no gravity manipulation, no energy shields, replied Jun. By all measurements, they should be simple to catalog, yet something in her voice suggested otherwise, but Han prompted. Jun hesitated. There's something different about these humans. They don't follow expected patterns. The observation team had been monitoring Earth for almost a full cycle now. Standard procedure was to watch a developing species, assess their threat level, and determine whether to make contact or simply bypass their system entirely. Show me the behavior compilation, Han ordered. The screen shifted to show scenes from across the planet. Humans rescuing others from burning buildings. Humans fighting wars against each other with brutal efficiency. Humans creating beautiful art and music. Humans destroying their own environments. I don't understand, said Kyo, the junior observer. These behaviors contradict each other. How can the same species be so kind yet so violent? Han had never seen anything like it. Most species evolved along predictable paths, either cooperative or competitive. Humans seem to be both simultaneously. What happens when we introduce the standard stressors? Han asked. Jun pulled up another set of images. That's the strangest part. When faced with disasters or threats, they become more unified, not less. It's the opposite of most species. The Confederation had triggered several small controlled disasters, a minor earthquake, an unusual storm, to observe human response patterns. Each time humans rallied together, helping strangers and organizing with surprising speed. Play the river incident, Han requested. The screen showed a small human settlement experiencing sudden flooding. As waters rose, humans didn't flee to save themselves as expected. Instead, they formed chains, passing children to safety. Some adults swam into dangerous currents to rescue others. Several lost their lives in these attempts. They sacrificed themselves for unrelated individuals, Kyo observed with wonder. Not just family units. Han had seen enough. Send a probe. I want closer observation. 3 days later, their stealth probe was discovered and shot down by human military forces. The response was immediate. Human governments mobilized, communications increased, and defensive postures were adopted worldwide. They detected our best stealth technology, June said, unable to hide her shock, and they responded with remarkable coordination for a divided planet. Han felt a chill. Something about these humans reminded him of old stories. Legends from the early days of the Confederation spoke of a species that nearly destroyed the first worlds, beings that never surrendered, never stopped fighting, and adapted with terrifying speed. We need to call the Council, Han decided. This requires higher authorization. Later that night, Han reviewed more footage alone. He watched humans at war, not just their weapons, but their tactics. They used deception, psychological warfare, and fought in ways that made no logical sense. They would sacrifice strategic positions to save small groups. They would continue fighting when all rational calculations said to surrender. He watched a historical battle where vastly outnumbered, humans held off a superior force through sheer determination. The humans didn't retreat when logic dictated they should. They kept fighting. Most disturbing was their rapid adaptation. In just 1 century, they had gone from primitive flight to space travel. Their rate of technological advancement was unprecedented. Senior observer? June's voice came through the communication system. The Council has responded. They're sending Ambassador Bay to assess the situation personally. Han looked back at the screen showing Earth. Tell the crew to maintain distance, no more probes. You think they're dangerous? June asked. Han thought carefully before answering. I think they're different, and in a universe of patterns, different is unpredictable. The blue planet continued spinning on the screen, its inhabitants unaware they were being watched by increasingly nervous eyes. Ambassador Bay stepped onto the observation deck, her eyes immediately drawn to the blue planet displayed on the massive view screen. After 30 years in diplomatic service, she had visited hundreds of worlds, but Earth seemed different somehow, more vibrant, more unpredictable. Ambassador, welcome aboard, Han said with a formal bow. We're honored by your presence, nodded curtly. The Council is concerned about your reports. They seem excessive. Han understood her skepticism. Most new species followed predictable patterns of development. Claims of unpredictability often proved to be observation errors. I've prepared a demonstration, Han said, gesturing to the conference table where June had arranged several data tablets. Please review our findings before forming conclusions. For the next 3 hours, Bay watched recordings of human behavior. She saw their wars, their art, their kindness and cruelty, often existing side by side in the same individuals. Her expression remained neutral, but her rapid eye blinks betrayed her growing concern. Their response times are remarkable, she noted. When threatened, they adapt within days, sometimes hours. That's what troubles us, Han agreed. Most species take generations to evolve new strategies. Humans seem to do it almost instantly. The observation ship had been monitoring Earth for nearly 2 months now. They had collected enough data for a preliminary assessment, but the Council wanted more before making contact decisions. We need to test them more directly, Bay announced. The standard evaluation protocols are insufficient for this case. Han hesitated. We've already triggered several minor events. Any more might alert them to our presence. Bay's expression hardened. The Council has authorized a Category 3 assessment. Deploy the simulators. Category 3 was rarely used. It involved creating a significant threat to observe how a species handled crisis. Han was uncomfortable with the order, but understood its necessity. If humans were as unusual as they appeared, the Confederation needed to know before deciding. Contact protocols. The next day, they launched the test. The simulators created the appearance of a small asteroid on collision course with Earth. It was entirely holographic. No real danger existed, but the humans would detect it with their instruments. Now we wait, Bay said. Standard response is usually denial, panic, then fragmentation of social structures. But the humans didn't follow the pattern. Within hours of detecting the threat, their scientists worldwide began sharing data. Former enemy nations offered resources to each other. Plans formed rapidly, some practical, others desperate. They're unifying, June said in disbelief. Global cooperation is increasing, not decreasing. Even more surprising, the humans developed multiple potential solutions simultaneously. Some built shelters, others designed deflection systems, still others prepared evacuation plans. They're not accepting defeat, Bay whispered. Even facing what they believe is extinction, they keep fighting. On the 5th day, something unexpected happened. The humans detected the holographic nature of the asteroid. Impossible, Han exclaimed. Their technology shouldn't be capable of detecting simulation signatures. Yet somehow they had. Within hours, Earth's military forces went on high alert. Their primitive detection systems began actively scanning space in patterns that suggested they were looking for the source of the deception. Terminate the simulation, Bay ordered. Full stealth protocols. Move the ship to the dark side of their moon. As they retreated, the observation team continued monitoring Earth's communications. The humans were angry, not frightened. They didn't cower from the unknown entity that had tested them. They were preparing to fight it. In all my years, Bay said quietly, I've never seen this response. Most species would be terrified to learn they're not alone. These humans, they're preparing for war. Later that night, Bay drafted her report to the Council. Her fingers hesitated, over the communication panel as she considered her recommendation. "You're suggesting we avoid contact entirely," Han observed from the doorway. Bay nodded slowly. "They're not ready for contact, and more importantly, we're not ready for them. They fight when they should surrender. They unite when they should divide. They adapt faster than any species we've encountered. So we just watch." "Them?" Han asked. "For now," Bay replied, sending her report. "The Council needs to understand one thing above all others. These humans don't think like us, and until we understand how they think, we should never, ever fight them." The emergency alarm blared through the observation ship, jolting Gil from his meditation cycle. As head of security for the Galactic Confederation's Earth observation mission, he rarely heard that particular tone. It meant serious trouble. "What's happening?" Gil demanded as he rushed onto the command deck. Senior Observer Han looked grim. "Commander Tech has gone rogue. He's taken the assault cruiser Sunray and initiated hostile contact with the human mining outpost on their 4th planet." Gil felt his blood cool. Without authorization? Has he lost his mind? He filed a report stating that limited engagement would provide better assessment data than passive observation. Ambassador Bay explained, her voice tight with anger. "He believes the humans will surrender quickly once they see our technology, and we can study their capitulation responses." On the main screen, they watched the Sunray approach the small human outpost on Mars. The mining station was primitive by Confederation standards, pressurized domes connected by sealed corridors, housing perhaps 200 humans. "We must stop him," Gil insisted. "Too late," Jun whispered as the Sunray fired its first warning shot, deliberately missing the outpost but leaving a massive crater nearby. Commander Tech's voice came through the communication system. "Attention, primitive humans. Your outpost is now under the control of the Galactic Confederation. Surrender immediately or face destruction." Gil expected panic, fear, pleas for mercy. That's how most developing species responded to their first contact with vastly superior technology. Instead, the humans responded with defiance. "Unidentified vessel, this is Mars Outpost Alpha. We will not surrender. You have committed an act of war against Earth. Withdraw immediately." Tech fired again, destroying an uninhabited storage dome. "Final warning, surrender or be eliminated." The human response was immediate and unexpected. Rather than cowering, the outpost launched what appeared to be primitive missiles toward the Sunray. They were easily deflected by the ship's shields, but the very act of resistance was shocking. "They're fighting back," Jun said in disbelief, "against a ship that could vaporize their entire outpost." Even more surprising was what happened next. The humans activated some kind of emergency protocol. Half their personnel rushed to evacuation vehicles while the others continued fighting. A perfect balance of survival and resistance. "Ambassador, we're detecting launches from Earth," reported the sensor officer. "Multiple vessels accelerating toward Mars at high speed." "Impossible," Bay whispered. "Their technology doesn't allow for rapid interplanetary travel." Yet the evidence was clear. Somehow the humans had developed ships faster than their public technology suggested. They had kept these capabilities hidden. Commander Tech seemed unconcerned. "Let them come. It will be a useful demonstration of our superiority." 3 days later, Gil watched in stunned silence as the humans surrounded the Sunray. Their ships were smaller, more fragile, but there were dozens of them, using tactics no Confederation strategist would have considered. They sacrificed vessels, willingly to test the Sunray's defensive capabilities, learning with each loss. "They're not retreating," Han observed. "They've lost 17 ships and they keep attacking." Then came the truly shocking moment. A small human vessel deliberately crashed into the Sunray's main engine, crippling the larger ship. The humans had identified a weakness and exploited it through sacrifice. "They're boarding the Sunray," Jun reported, her voice shaking. "They've breached the hull." For the next 6 hours they monitored the battle inside the Confederation vessel. The humans should have been outmatched in every way, yet they fought with an intensity that stunned the observers. When technology failed, they improvised. When outnumbered, they set traps. They never stopped advancing. Commander Tech's final transmission chilled everyone on the observation deck. They won't accept surrender, he gasped, clearly injured. I offered unconditional surrender and they just kept coming. They don't fight like rational beings. They fight like... His transmission ended abruptly. 2 days later, the Confederation Council received the humans' message, broadcast on all frequencies. To whoever sent this ship, we are coming for you next. No one attacks humanity and lives to tell about it. Ambassador, Bay looked at the other observers, her expression grave. Now you understand. This is why we never fight the humans. The Grand Council chamber fell silent as 13 of the most powerful beings in the galaxy took their seats. This emergency session was unprecedented. Never before had all council members been summoned with such urgency. Elder Moon, the oldest living member of the Confederation, looked around the table with grave eyes. For 10,000 years he had guided galactic policy. Now his hands trembled slightly as he activated the central display. We face a situation without precedent, Moon began. The humans have captured Commander Tech's vessel and obtained Confederation technology. They now know we exist and they are displeased. Ambassador Bay stepped forward. After witnessing the Mars incident, she had been recalled to provide direct testimony. The humans defeated a Confederation warship with primitive technology and sheer determination, she explained. When offered surrender, they refused. They continued fighting until they had complete victory. Council member Shin, representing the warrior Draxian species, scoffed. One minor engagement proves nothing. Every species fights when cornered. This was different, Bay insisted. We've analyzed their historical records. Humans have a pattern that defies normal species development. She activated a series of images, human battles throughout their history. Small forces defeating larger ones through creativity and sacrifice. Defeated nations rebuilding and returning stronger. Ordinary individuals performing impossible feats to protect others. Most species evolve to minimize conflict and preserve life at all costs, Bay continued. Humans evolved to win conflicts regardless of cost. She displayed footage from Earth's wars, soldiers throwing themselves on explosives to save companions, fighters continuing despite grievous injuries, civilians resisting occupying forces through years of hardship. They have a concept they call victory or death, explained Han, who had joined the council session. Many species fight for survival, but humans fight for principles, abstract concepts that they value above their own lives. Elder Moon nodded slowly. This reminds me of the ancient texts. The precursors spoke of a species they called the unyielding, beings who fought with such ferocity that the precursors chose to leave that sector of space entirely. Surely that's just legend, protested Council Member Wu. Is it? Mun activated. Another display. Look at their media, their entertainment. Humans glorify resistance against overwhelming odds. They celebrate those who never surrender. They teach their children stories of sacrifice and perseverance. The council watched in disturbed silence as human films, books, and games appeared, on screen, all showing the same theme: humans fighting against impossible odds and somehow prevailing. Most concerning is their adaptability, added Gill, who had been analyzing human military capabilities. In just 3 weeks since capturing Commander Tech's ship, they've already begun integrating our technology with theirs. Their learning curve is unprecedented. Council member Jin, the chief strategist, ran a simulation. If we launched a full-scale invasion, our projections show initial victory. We would destroy their major cities, their military installations. But then, the simulation continued, showing human resistance growing stronger over time, Confederation casualties mounting, supply lines disrupted by constant guerrilla attacks, and most disturbing, humans adapting Confederation technology and turning it against its creators. They never accept defeat, Jin concluded. We might win every major battle, but they would keep fighting, for years, decades, centuries if necessary. The cost would be unacceptable. Elder Moon stood slowly, leaning on his ceremonial staff. I propose a new galactic law, effective immediately. The humans and their solar system are to be quarantined. No contact, no conflict, no engagement of any kind. And Commander Tech's ship? Asked Shin. The technology they've captured? Let them have it, Mun replied. Consider it an unintentional gift. If we attempt to retrieve it, they will see it as another attack. What if they develop faster-than-light travel and find us? Wu asked. Mun considered this. Then we must be ready to offer peace. Alliance, not conquest. The council vote was unanimous. The official record would state simply, regarding the species known as humans, we never fight them. As the council members departed, Ambassador Bei lingered, watching the images of Earth rotating slowly on the main display. They're remarkable in their way, Elder Mun said, joining her. Perhaps someday they'll be our greatest allies. If they don't destroy themselves first, Bei noted. Yes, Mun agreed. But something tells me they'll survive. They always seem to find a way. 20 years had passed since the Mars incident. The Galactic Confederation had kept its distance from Earth, watching as humans advanced their technology at an alarming rate. Using the captured Confederation ship as a blueprint, they had developed their own faster-than-light drives and begun exploring nearby star systems. In the observation center orbiting Jupiter, Gil reviewed the latest reports. Now promoted to senior observer after Han's retirement, he monitored human expansion with growing concern. They've established colonies on 7 planets and 5 star systems, Gil told his team. Their rate of expansion exceeds our projections by 300%. Should we be worried? Asked Nari, his new assistant. Gil considered the question carefully. Not yet. They've shown no aggression toward other worlds. They seem focused on exploration rather than conquest. The alarm sounded, interrupting their conversation. The emergency communication system activated, displaying Elder Mun's grave face. Senior Observer Gil, we have a crisis. The Void Eaters have crossed the outer boundary. 3 systems have already gone dark. Gil felt cold fear grip him. The Void Eaters were not a species but a phenomenon, dark energy beings that consumed matter, leaving nothing behind. Ancient records spoke of their previous appearance 5 million years ago, when they had devoured an entire section of the galaxy before mysteriously retreating. The Council is evacuating border worlds, Mun continued. We project the Void Eaters will reach Confederation core worlds within 2 years. And Earth? Gil asked. Directly in their path, the humans will be among the first consumed. Gil felt an unexpected pang of sympathy. Despite the Council's warnings about humans, he had grown to admire their resilience. Should we warn them? He asked. The Council has decided against it, Mun replied. Our priority is saving our own worlds. Prepare your team for immediate withdrawal. After the transmission ended, Gil sat motionless, contemplating the billions of lives that would be lost. The Council's decision was logical. The Confederation had never successfully fought the Void Eaters before. Warning humans would only create panic before their inevitable destruction. Yet something bothered him. Humans had repeatedly demonstrated an ability to find solutions where others saw none. Against direct orders, Gil sent an anonymous data packet to Earth, containing everything the Confederation knew about the Void Eaters. 6 months later, as Gil prepared to evacuate his observation post, an unexpected transmission arrived. The sender identification read, United Earth Command. This is Admiral Park of Earth Defense Forces. We know you're out there. We need to talk. The Council was furious when Gil reported the contact, but curiosity overrode their caution. A meeting was arranged on neutral territory, a small moon orbiting Saturn. Admiral Park arrived with a small delegation. Unlike the angry warriors Gil expected, the humans appeared calm and focused. We know about the Void Eaters, Park began without preamble, and we know you're planning to run. Elder Mun, who had insisted on joining the meeting, straightened his frail shoulders. There is no defense against them. They cannot be destroyed by any weapon we possess. Park nodded. We've studied your data. You're right. They can't be destroyed by conventional means, but they can be contained. The human delegation presented their plan. They had discovered that the Void Eaters responded to certain energy frequencies. With enough properly calibrated emitters placed strategically throughout their path, they could potentially redirect the entities. It would require hundreds of ships working in perfect coordination, Park explained. We have the ships. We need your knowledge of space-time physics. Why would you help us? Moon asked, genuinely confused. After what happened on Mars, Park's expression remained neutral. Because that's what humans do. We fight impossible battles, not just for ourselves, but for everyone. 2 months later, Gil stood on the bridge of the human flagship alongside Admiral Park. Ahead of them, the Void Eaters approached, swirling masses of dark energy that seemed to devour light itself. Around them, a combined fleet of human and Confederation vessels moved into position. The plan was dangerous, requiring precise timing and positioning that seemed impossible to achieve. You realize this might not work, Gil said quietly. The odds are against us. Park smiled. Humans have never cared much about odds. As the battle began, Gil finally understood why the Confederation's oldest law had been the right one. Not because humans were too dangerous to fight against, but because they were too valuable to fight alongside. When the energy emitters activated, creating a shimmering barrier that redirected the Void Eaters away from inhabited space, Gil knew the galaxy would never be the same. And that, Elder Mun would later tell the Council, is why we never fight the humans. Because when we stand with them instead, there is nothing in the universe we cannot face together. Retry Claude can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.